Two teens in New Jersey could be labeled sex offenders for life because of something their lawyers are calling horseplay. An appeals court has ruled the two did engage in sexual contact when they held down two younger boys and put their bare backsides into the boys' faces. Sex offenders, bullies, pranksters? Well, here to debate the case are attorneys Matthew J. O'Connor and David Wall. Thanks, gentlemen, both for joining us today.
Hi there, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon.
All right, David, how would you argue this for your clients? I mean, should these two young boys be labeled sex offenders for the rest of their lives because of what happened?
You know, Shannon, even the judge said there was no sexual intent here, and that's key in this thing. These were two 14-year-old boys doing precisely what 14-year-old boys do. I mean, this is a little overboard, I'll grant you that. But the idea that somehow this is a sexual offense and that these boys have to register under Megan's Law. Let's look at Megan's Law for a second. That was named after a 7-year-old girl who was raped and murdered in 1996, and contrast that with what happened here between these 14-year-old pranksters engaging in what can only be seen as a prank. You know, these lawyers need to get back into court because it's up to the lawyers, and including the prosecutor, to make sure that justice is served. To vacate this conviction, let's refile it as a simple assault or even a felony assault. Have him plead guilty to that. Get rid of this registration as a sexual offender, which will ruin these boys' lives, no question about it, and it simply is not deserved under these circumstances. Let's make sure justice is served, and it can only be done by filing the appropriate charges and getting the appropriate punishment.
But Matthew, where do we draw the line? Because it's clear, as the court found, there was sexual contact here. I mean, these are body parts that are sexually related. I mean, where do you draw the line between horseplay and a different kind of crime?
Well, first of all, it's not horseplay. This was a vicious assault. Anytime you're putting your bare backside on another person, it's not towel snapping in the locker room. It is a vicious assault. Yes, I believe it is unfair to have them register as sex offenders for the rest of their life, but the bigger issue here is that you have two kids who are assaulting others in just a vicious manner, and bullying has become such an epidemic in our country, and suicide amongst teens is the third leading cause of death. So I think that we need to take a strong, hard look at this, and if the consequence is that these two kids have to register as sex offenders, then so be it, because we need to send a clear, strong message to children and to teenagers that you can't bully your peers. And to suggest that this is just mere horseplay is ridiculous. I agree that it's probably an assault, that it wasn't for the purpose of gratifying or arousing these two young men at all, and I think it is a misapplication. The other thing that we miss here is that as a juvenile under Megan's Law, there is a way to keep it off the books, and after they reach adulthood, they can actually be removed from the books and they don't have to register. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for these two kids, unfortunately.
Well, and David, as I understand, the appeals court is going to send this back down for some possible changes at the lower court level. One of the kids may be able to withdraw his guilty plea. One may be able to contest they had ineffective counsel. Do you see a different resolution to this case coming, David?
Yeah, I mean, the attorneys have to get together and basically stipulate that they're going to vacate this conviction altogether because, you know, the punishment can't fit the crime unless the charge itself fits the crime. This is an assault. I agree with Matt. You know, this is probably bullying in one of its worst forms, but that is such a far leap from a sexual offense and the type of registration that results from that sexual offense that will ruin two kids' lives that it's absurd. There's no way Megan's Law, which again was patterned after a horrible offense against a 7-year-old girl, ever intended to cover something like this. And this has got to be dealt with. It's up to the prosecutor not just to get a notch in his belt, but to make sure that justice is served. And justice simply was not served in this case, Shannon, by any measure.
Well, we like it when we can find agreements on both sides of the issue. Counselors, excellent points on both sides. Thank you both very much.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Well, the death toll in that shocking mass